If you need a new family, if you need a family that respects your deepest truth, that listens to you, that celebrates you, that doesn't mercilessly make fun of you as as the glue that holds the family together, you're welcome here in this family, on this page. We will love you unconditionally. I'm glad you're here.
Let's talk about glitter families. What are they? Why they are particularly sinister, how they function, and what role they play in trans ideology and the upbringing of the post-social media generations.
Mama, I know I'm a demon. It ain't nothing she could do but pray for me. Saving me from out of the cold. Fire on fire will normally kill us. With this much desire, together we're winners. But you ain't really good. We never learned like we did before.
It's the same guy. Ew, what the fuck? Oh, creepy. One thing, and again, this is the way that the trans ideology and the trans ideologues have co-opted the gay civil rights movement. And as we know, transgender, the LGBTQ, we know that the T and Q really are falsely conflated with the LGB. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, T is transgender, and Q is queer. Transgender and queer have to do with gender identity. LGB has to do with human sexuality. And as we know in primate studies and observations, human primates have a similar rate of homosexuality in their population that primate populations do, that are most closely related to us, such as chimpanzees. So what we know, I think that is a pretty strong argument that sexuality is, for the most part, innate, immutable characteristic. So that's why it's legitimate that it is a protected class and a protected characteristic. The T and the Q sort of jumped onto the scene and, added a bunch of letters thereafter. And this has to do with, gender ideology. It's not sexuality. And this is, this is things that don't have to do with, So the trans movement has been an opportunistic parasite in the sense that it's sort of latched on to pre-existing movements, and it's embodied their language, their activism, tactics, strategies, and tweak them to use it for its own gain. So in the case of LGB, for the gay civil rights movement, anybody who can remember, who grew up in the 90s and previous, probably remembers the Matt Shepard story, this horrifying story of a gay teenage boy who was beaten to death. And it was a very severe homophobic hate crime.
It was 20 years ago this weekend that a 21-year-old Wyoming college student named Matthew Shepard was lured from a bar, robbed and beaten, in an attack that would take his life. Shepard's death sparked vigils around the world and 2 decades now of activism in his name.
That's really heartbreaking for me.
On the night of October 6, 1998, 2 men targeted and abducted Matt, driving him to a remote area east of Laramie, Wyoming. Jason Marsden leads the foundation that bears his friend's name.
They reached a dead end toward the end of this road and took Matt out of the truck, tied him to a buck fence that's just out here past this hillside behind me, and hit him in the head 19 to 21 times with the butt end of a .357 pistol.
Matt was tortured and left to die, found by a bicyclist after 18 hours. He never regained consciousness and died 5 days later.
At 12:53 a.m. this morning, Matthew Shepard died.
The tragedy would become one of the most notorious anti-gay hate crimes in American history. Matt's funeral and the murder trials, which led to multiple life sentences, dominated the media.
Everybody, male and female, could look at Matt and see something that was similar to what their experiences were.
The correspondence we got was easily half from the straight community. I didn't know this was happening. I had no idea. It was ignorance. Mainstream media had not at all covered the gay community outside of the AIDS pandemic and the pride parades once a year.
And then I think the response of the straight community was this legitimate outpouring of, oh my God, I didn't know this was happening. There's this whole America, this side of America that we're not seeing. It's this hidden America, these young children who are going through this time of sexuality. I think that really resonated with us. That really resonated with people, you know, in this country. And so I think the reaction was to swing hard into the other direction. Now we're militantly accepting. Now be kind or else I'll fuck you up. Right? It's like, you know, and it's like, it's just be kind. Just be kind. Be kind or I'm going to fucking take you out back and I'll teach you how to fuck to be kind. It's like, whoa. Again, these extremes are dangerous on both ends. We've now shifted to a strong polarity.
And we know, you know, we remember the stories of children being thrown out of their homes because of their sexuality. Maybe they were caught kissing a boy or kissing a girl or engaging in some sort of homosexual activity or just even just the assumption that maybe they're gay. You know, kids have been thrown out of their homes. So there was a higher rates of homelessness amongst amongst homosexual and sexual minorities, you know, of kids. So again, it as legitimately brought attention to that as an issue. You know, the kids need the unconditional love and support of their parents.
And let me be absolutely clear, okay? Unconditional love and support is not the same as saying yes to everything. It's not the same as unconditional yes. Sometimes unconditional love means saying no. As easy as it would, as much as it would be easier for me to say yes and to give you what you want and we could be best friends and skip off into the sunset as you self-mutilate and I high-five you and I film it for the internet, I'm not going to do that. I'll be the bad guy because that's what I'm supposed to do. Because that's what a parent does. A parent stands in the gap. A parent is not afraid to be hated in the moment. Is not afraid for the pushback. Is strong enough to hold the line. Because that's what's safest. That's what's best for the child.
The trans right movement came right in and said, listen, hey, you cannot question. If your kid comes and tells you that their gender is something different than what you can see and what you know, you can't question because, again, just like sexuality, it's not something that... Sexuality isn't something that you can prove. It's just something that your child has to tell to you. There's no diagnostic criteria. There's no blood test. There's no brain scan. we rely on the self-declaration of children to their parents, be able to say, hey, mom, dad, I'm gay, or I think I'm gay, or I think I'm bisexual. I'm not sure what my sexuality is, but or whatever. And so trans, it was a perfect Trojan horse for the trans rights movement, because transgender ideology say, listen, my gender is something you can't see. Again, it's a Trojan horse because the transgender movement knows that it could take that concept, that there is some innate quality, immutable quality about your child that you cannot see, that you may not fully understand because you've never experienced it for yourself, but that is true and is valid and is immutable of your child. And so they took that and applied it to gender. That even though you can see, the primary and secondary sex characteristics of your child, even though they've, that there actually are diagnostic criteria for your child being male or female, there is some innate experience that your child is having that you can't see and that you've never experienced, but you just have to trust that when they explain it to you, that they're explaining it to you in earnest, and that it is true, and you just have to accept it, and you can't ask questions. And it's different than a sexuality. Sexuality is straightforward. You're either gay or you're not, or you're bisexual. You're either gay, bisexual, heterosexual. Those are the three options. Okay, and you can be, in terms of bisexual, you can be gay-leaning bisexual or heterosexual-leaning bisexual. Where you predominantly are attracted to men as a woman, but you also have an attraction to women, but maybe it's not as strong, or vice versa, whatever. But the thing about gender is that it's fluid. It's not you either are or you aren't. It's you don't need to ask questions about if your child is gay. If they're saying that they're gay, okay, that's a pretty straightforward thing. You can talk to them about it. You can, whatever. But as gender, the idea is you can't ask any questions over this very complex issue. So let's talk about glitter families. So now with the rise of social media and kids, as young as 13 are legitimately signing up for social media, and we know that kids much younger are. So for the first time, they're put in direct conversation with adults, with people of all ages across the world. And, it's so enticing. I don't know if you guys ever remember, there was a movie, I remember when I was a kid, it had to have been like from the 80s or 90s, about these kids who were like, we want a new mom, and they got like a wish. Like, I wish I had a new mom.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to the mall after school with Aaron.
No, you're not. Now, guys, I love you to bits, but I'm sick and tired of this.
If I come home tonight and this house is not clean,
Nobody is going out this weekend, and I mean it.
don't you wish we had one of those mothers who did everything for you?
Now, with a little help from a magic friend,
Can't you just do some magic to make people disappear?
they just might get what they want.
I feel good.
She's gone.
We're free. We can do whatever we want.
Now that she's gone,
Yippee!
their problems have just begun.
We want a new mother, not no mother.
And then you could go to the mommy market and pick out a new mother.
Welcome to the mommy market. We've got them all here.
Claire's mother can teach you how to take care of yourself.
She's taken.
Should they choose one with lots of money?
Wow, we get to ride in this?
Oh, surely you did not expect us to take the bus.
Mon Dieu! He's my iguana.
Should they pick a mom who's full of energy?
She's awesome. She's everything we could want in a mother.
We are going camping today.
I gotta go number 2.
Leave.
Or how about a mom who's really fun?
Oh, but let's join circus.
What if they don't want to be in the circus?
We're about to go on tour.
We don't want to go in tour.
Hit the brakes, Harry! Hit the brakes!
Which one's the
hate them all. I just wish we could find our own mother. Why can't we remember her?
How can we get her back?
The only way you can break the enchantment is remembering your mother.
For every kid who's ever wanted to trade in his mother, Academy Award winner Sissy Spacek and My Girl star Anna Klumsky in Trading Mom.
They realize that everything that glitters is not gold. And that these, great moms, these great replacement moms that seemed really exciting, on this sort of superficial level, were not all they were cracked up to be. And they wanted mom back. They wanted mom with all of her flaws or, maybe even the unfun parts, because she's a mom and her job is not to give you what you want all the time. Her job is to not acquiesce to you. Her job is to provide a safe space for you to actualize as an adult, to make mistakes, but to help mitigate the damage of those mistakes. Okay, to take risks within reason without making life-altering decisions, and to give you a sort of safe, it's kind of like, one example is just even like with kids, like a play area. It's a padded area. There's gates. They can play within the area. They can try things, do things, but they can't go so far out of bounds that they're going to go run out and get hurt and put their hand on the stove or run outside and get hit by a car. There's enough leeway to explore and to experiment without, and the mom and the parents know what the limitations are without harming yourself permanently. So there's this whole subculture that I'm finding on social media and TikTok and Instagram and other places of these very performative trans moms.
My mom is a beautiful example of how to support trans kids. So parents, take note. When my pronouns change, she immediately starts practicing my new pronouns with family members. She will talk to folks we both know who don't quite get the trans thing for me, so that I don't have to be the one to have that conversation. She took me to get top surgery and took care of me when I recovered. And she watches every gender education video I make and follows other trans educators and actively re-examines her own ideas about gender. Mom, I love you. Thank you.
I love you too, Maddie.
Who are, super trans accepting, and they'll speak directly to kids who maybe have parents who actually put down boundaries, actually have boundaries in their relationships with their children, who are grounded in some sort of reality, who aren't interested in getting likes and affirmation on social media. And so these parents will undermine other parents of children on the internet who they don't know. They don't know what these children, what sort of trauma they come with, what sort of health history they're coming with, what sort of neurological status that they're in, or where or why they're even experimenting with these ideas of transgenderism. And they are sending out messages that directly undermine the authority of parents to set boundaries for their own children.
I want you to know, Mom, how much I appreciate your support with me transitioning. And I think it's time for me to start hormones. I'd like to make a doctor's appointment about that. Can you support that and help me? Absolutely not. We are not going to start that. You are far too young to be starting hormones. You're not going to put those chemicals in your body. What if you change your mind? I appreciate you coming and talking to me about this. I think a great first step would be for us to call a doctor and have a conversation about this and get to know a little bit more about what the process is. If you're not a doctor, you don't know if putting hormones in their already hormonal body is bad for them. This is a great opportunity for you to listen and validate your teenager's feelings and research. Talk to doctors. Learn what the process is. Go through that with your teenager. They're not going to change their mind.
Sit with me while I wait for my oldest to come out of a therapy appointment. When we leave here, this fidget will be done, and we will have a letter recommending medical transition.
We absolutely did leave with a letter, and we see a doctor in a week or so, and hopefully we'll have a prescription, and hopefully we can get surgery approved, and we are over the moon excited that this is going to finally happen for him.
Here's what loving your trans kid looks like. Mine's 18 now. He's had top surgery. He's happy. He and I have such a great relationship that we can have adult conversations. We don't interrupt each other. We just love each other. Even if we don't agree on things, we just love each other. He has a job in a management position. He's not hurting himself. He doesn't have any ideation. He has nothing but happy thoughts. He is confident. He is ready for college. He is ready to get on with his life after I move out or he moves out. He is going to be a productive adult in society who knows how to love other people. Where does he get that from? From somebody that has loved him unconditionally through his process of life. Isn't that what we want for our kids?
It's like in parenting, always upheld that we don't undermine each other, even if we disagree. You know, if it's the choice between, if there's space to talk, we'll talk about it. But if it's like, you know, they're kind of like bumping heads with the kid and the kid's maybe throwing a tantrum, you don't swoop in and say, oh, well, that's ridiculous. Just give her the toy. Say, listen, Dad said no. And if they come up to me, you know, and they'll say, oh, can I have da-da-da-da? And I'd be like, well, what did Dad say? Because I heard you talking to Dad about it. What was his answer? And like, well, you know, Dad said that. I'm like, okay, well, let's go ask Dad. Let's just verify. You know, or if they said, oh, well, Daddy said no, but I still really want it. I'm like, well, you know what? Dad said no. And maybe we can go talk to Dad and see what his reasons are for saying no. But, you know, if he says no, I've got to uphold that. Rather than saying, oh, go ahead. Oh, my God, yeah, Dad doesn't know what he's talking about, you know. It is so important that parents always present as a united front so that kids don't use divide and conquer tactics, so that they won't start to manipulate, knowing, well, Dad usually says yes for this, or Mom usually says yes for that. And so it doesn't undermine your authority as parents and your legitimacy as authority figures. Because there are certain rules and standards in the culture of the family that are just universal. And it also gives legitimacy to any rules themselves. Because if children don't have the capacity or the awareness to know what's a firm rule versus one that doesn't need to be so firm, if all of them just seem like they're optional. And if you've delegitimized your partner by undermining them, by going behind their back, by doing things, you know, overruling or overriding some answer that they've given or some permission that they've revoked or some, you know, punishment that they've installed, you're saying that what Dad says is not legitimate. He is not a legitimate authority figure. He doesn't need to be respected. He doesn't have your best interests at heart. He doesn't know what's best for you. He doesn't even know what's right for you. And there are no clear rules or boundaries. And if you push hard enough, you can push straight through that boundary. And so what these glitter parents are effectively doing are undermining the parents of every child that interacts with them. It is so unethical bordering on child abuse. You don't know these kids. That's like going up to a kid and handing them a bag of food. And you have no idea what sort of allergies they have, what their health. And every time you delegitimize and undermine the other parent or any other crucial guardian in their life, you're basically saying, don't trust that guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He has no authority here. You don't need to listen to him. That's scary, because now they're thinking, oh, well, maybe dad's not trustworthy. Maybe he doesn't know what he's talking about. Maybe I guess I should just listen to my own head. Well, that's a little bit scary, because I don't really know all the answers to things. I don't know what's best for me. But it sounds like dad doesn't know what's best for me either. Well, then if he doesn't know, if he's not a good leader, well, I gotta find somebody else. And you have now delegitimized him. You have delegitimized a crucial authority figure in the lives of these children, to the detriment of the children themselves. You are not harming the parent, you are harming the child. Anxiously attached and develop poor attachment styles when they do not feel that their parents are a legitimate authority figure. This harms the children. It is very unsettling as a child to think, wow, my parents are really incompetent. They don't know what they're talking about. And that's reinforced by the parents undermining each other back and forth. Oh, mom doesn't know what she's talking about. Go ahead here. Oh, dad's always saying stuff. Go ahead. You know what? No, they can have it. They can, they want to go, they can go. Sure, come on. Who cares what dad said? All that does is chip away at the confidence of the child to the legitimacy of the parent. That's a scary place to be in as a kid. Because if you're a kid and you depend on these people to guide you for all of your most crucial life decisions, if you depend on them, there's a sense of control in the world, that there are adults who know how to navigate things on your behalf, and these adults that you've always depended on to navigate the world, and now you're getting messages that they're not competent, that they're not to be trusted, that they are not capable decision makers, that is scary. Because now you're thinking, oh shit, do I need to be hyper aware and hyper vigilant about what decisions are going to be made in my life? Maybe I need to pay attention to what dad's doing. Maybe he's making other dumb decisions for me that could harm me. Can I trust him? That's bad. And there's a reason why children test boundaries. Because they want to see how firm you are. They want to see if you're flimsy. They want to see what you really know. And if you put your foot down because that's a firm boundary, or is it one that you don't take seriously and they can push back against? When kids push boundaries and those boundaries push back, that might not be fun, but that is so reassuring for children to know, you know what? Even if I lose control, even if I go and make dumb decisions, even if I'm just spiraling, I have a protective force around me. And these people, these parents know and care, and they will continue to enforce boundaries that will protect me regardless.
I want to talk to the kids. Parents watch the video and then hand the phone over to the young kids. Hi there. I get asked a lot, are you a boy or a girl? And I love that question. And so I wanted to just tell you, sometimes human beings are more than boy or girl. Sometimes we're something else. Sometimes we're both. Sometimes we kind of float in between, and sometimes we're a boy, sometimes we're a girl. Because human beings are creatures and we're wild and exciting. But I want to ask you a favor. If you see a kid like me or an adult like me, would you be extra nice to them? Would you do me a favor and be very, very kind? Yeah, like anybody, we can feel lonely. And so if you're kind to us, it would be really, really important.
So what is so particularly sinister about these like litter families is they're literally doing just that. They're undermining the parents of children who are going through emotionally turbulent times, a time of self-discovery. And whereas before, you know, children would look to local communities, we now have the internet, and you have groomers like Jeffery Marsh basically reaching and accessing your children and telling it, you know, telling your kids that, oh, mom and dad says getting hormones is bad. Mom and dad shouldn't, they're wrong. You shouldn't listen to them. I can't, I mean, it's scary as a parent. Like, it's like, this is what we're really up against. Okay. So, another reason, keep your kids the fuck off the internet. Just keep them off of social media. I didn't grow up with it. I was one of the generations, one of the first generations that had classes that had Facebook. You had to be in college to get a Facebook. I remember the summer when we all got our college, our university email addresses. We were so excited because we could finally sign up for the Facebook, right? Yeah, so we didn't grow up with it, and, you know, we're like relatively normal. These kids are fucked. Keep them off the internet. So groomers like Jeffery Marsh, the reason why these people and these men want access to your kids is because they were marginalized, because we as a society said, no, we don't want to promote autogynephilia. And that's a pretty, you know, worthy goal. I don't think we should be promoting autogynephilia, because we know that there is a correlation between violence and autogynephilia and sexual assault and autogynephilia. 40% of all trans women inmates, trans identified males inmates are sex offenders. You know, so no, I mean, so these are people who are trying to groom an entire generation and new, you know, and kids who are not armed with the life experience or the confidence to recognize this sort of stuff and be able to turn it off. And transitioning is being peddled as this cure-all. All we see, and TikTok, it's the meme generation. It's the soundbite generation. It's these quick 30-second clips of people living their best life ever, and oh, I'm just so happy I found me. I was sad and depressed, but then I transitioned and I cut my breasts off, and now I'm happy. I found myself. I'm the real me. If your evil witch mom won't let you get a double mastectomy and get an arm skin tube penis, well, fuck her. Come join our creep show family. We will love you. Oh, and it's so funny, like how Jeffery Marsh says, oh, we will love you unconditionally. Oh, is that true, Jeffrey? Well, let's check in with the detransitioners and let's figure out how they feel about your unconditional love. Because as soon as you get disillusioned with the trans movement or trans ideology, suddenly that unconditional love runs out. You're really not as embraced, not as loved. So let's unpack that, Jeffrey. Let's unpack what unconditional means. Because what if someone says, you know, this medicalization is going too far. You know what? This whole sunk cost fallacy, I want to stop before I destroy more of myself. What?
If you need a new family, if you need a family that respects your deepest truth, that listens to you, that celebrates you, that doesn't mercilessly make fun of you as as the glue that holds the family together, you're welcome here in this family, on this page. We will love you unconditionally. I'm glad you're here.
I found myself. I'm the real me. If your
evil witch mom won't let you get a double mastectomy and get an arm skin tube penis, well, fuck her. Come join our creep show family. We will love you. And it's so funny, like how Jeffery Marsh says, "Oh, we will love you unconditionally." Oh, is that true, Jeffrey? Well, let's check in with the detransitioners and let's figure out how they feel about your unconditional love. Because as soon as you get disillusioned with the trans movement or trans ideology, suddenly that unconditional love runs out. You're really not as embraced, not as loved. So let's unpack that, Jeffrey. Let's unpack what unconditional means. Because what if someone says, this medicalization is going too far. You know what? This whole sunk cost fallacy, I want to stop before I destroy more of myself. What then, Jeffrey? Would you still love us then? Can I be in your family? Would you take a turf?